I want to talk through my MVP story, see if there's any key insights that you can take from that, and hopefully, yeah, it'll be a valuable experience for you. So this is our homepage, talentrocket.co.uk at the moment. So a brief intro to us, as Lawrence explained. So TalentRocket is a platform that connects talented people with inspiring companies. And the whole kind of idea came from, we generally believe that recruitment is broken. So finding career happiness isn't around just finding a job, which is what most people do. It's actually finding a company that aligns with your own personal values, and a company whose purpose genuinely excites you. So users can log in, they can create a private profile, follow the companies that they'd like to work for, and whether that's now or in the future. So we call that kind of setting up a career wish list. And every time those companies are hiring, you get notified. And users can also communicate with those organizations if those organizations like those user profiles. So we're exploring a kind of, when Lawrence was talking about blue ocean strategy there, I didn't kind of realize, but we are supposing kind of positioning it that way in terms of 80% of jobs aren't actually found through a traditional job application interview process. They're found through organic conversations, through coffees, through beers after work. And we're trying to create that kind of experience online, that kind of serendipity of you're a talented individual, you would be of interest to our organization, and you're interested in that business as well. So until now, there's been nowhere where an individual can go online and manage their careers and keep track of when their favorite companies are hiring. So we're simplifying the recruitment process, no recruiters, no spammy emails, and we're taking on the multi-billion-pound recruitment market. So we're live at the moment and we're in beta. And here are a few of our customers that we've got on the site. So early on, we decided to focus solely on purpose-led companies, companies that measure their success in making a difference to the world, not just making profit for hungry shareholders. And we identified these companies naturally cared more about finding people that fit in with their company culture as well. And because of this, they're prepared to invest in their employer brand and their company perks. So, whether that's free beer and free food at companies like Stack Exchange or Football Radar, or, Nerf gun wars in the office at Y-Plan, or meditation rooms at Us2, or tree houses at Mind Candy. And these companies recognize that money is better spent on creating a great work environment than it is spent on using expensive recruiters. So the idea kind of struck a chord with these guys, and we quickly got companies signed up. Today we're in a position where companies are now coming to us each week saying they want to be featured on our site, which is a great position for us to be in. So we're making kind of recruiters and founders of organizations, we're making their lives easier. We're giving them a platform for them to shout about their culture, to get their culture heard, and saving them time and money in making direct hires. So we've got a steady kind of user flow of people coming to the site, setting up their career wish lists, and building relationships with these companies as well. So getting to where we are now has not been particularly easy. So yeah, I suppose the key learn for me around this phase is go after the easy wins. So if you can B2B product or even a B2C product, if you're launching, go after the people that think the way you think, that buy into your philosophy, rather than just going after any old company. So I quickly realized my time was not best spent trying to convince companies that they need to invest in their employer brand. We went after the companies that already do invest in their employer brand, create these great workplaces, have a purpose, have a mission, and would buy into our philosophy as to how we saw the recruitment process going forward. So yeah, kind of this is a concept that I really believe in, which is you should start with your purpose first and then build your product after that. And I want to roll back to where I was kind of 18 months ago. So my background is in recruitment, in headhunting, and I'd kind of listen to and understand the problems on both sides in terms of people finding jobs and the pain of that process, and companies finding talent. So, and I knew I wanted to do something in the technology space. I knew I wanted to do something that contributed more to the industry. So I was going to all these things, Campus London, meetup.com, and I also wanted to build a company that kind of valued making a difference in the world and made their employees happy, made their customers really happy, rather than just a profit-focused organization. I then kind of discovered the Happy Startup School, which obviously really resonated with me, and I met with Lawrence and the guys at Speak Studio, and we've been working together. We kind of first started putting some ideas together in March 2013, and the original idea was completely different to TalentRocket. Couldn't be more different, in fact. So, we scoped out an idea which basically, it's a classic example of searching for problem-solution fit. So the problems were kind of the same in terms of frustrations with the recruitment process, people kind of getting spammy emails from recruiters on LinkedIn and bouncing out of that. And the original solution we proposed was to build a TripAdvisor for recruitment services. Now, not that's necessarily a bad idea, and there are companies out there that do that. But for me, it wasn't the most efficient way of solving the problem. And we kind of as well did a bit of customer development on that, and people didn't really kind of empathize enough with recruiters in order to write reviews. And the other thing about it was I didn't really want to spend my days prompting people to do something that they didn't necessarily want to do. So we kind of took a different strategy. And really glad we did. And I think the message from that is that if it doesn't get you out of bed in the morning, don't do it. And I kind of, with the original concept, it really didn't kind of motivate me and inspire me to want to work to the early hours in the morning. And your purpose is your fuel, and you need to make sure that kind of it is a purpose that you're really passionate about. So we pivoted, and that was before we wrote any lines of code, which was great. So this is what we did next. We built up a landing page, which is here. This is our original landing page. We created some viral content. We built up a kind of a mailing list first, and we filmed an intro video. We made some infographics. We wrote a manifesto as well, which really, really helped in terms of getting kind of our message out there as to what we stand for. We started a newsletter to the people that signed up. Created a blog site. So I did some guest blogging on some bigger sites as well. It was more kind of hustling rather than actually checking out which marketing channels work for us and what were most effective. And we created a story around the business. We really clarified our customer archetypes as well. So that's kind of where we started. And then throughout this process, there's a huge piece of customer development. So probably about a year I spent in customer development, or 9 months. So I pitched loads of companies via email, via LinkedIn, via literally just calling up the switchboard. Loads of people kind of non-responses. But some people were really nice. And what I found with the customer development piece was asking people for help, asking people advice was definitely the thing that that resonated, and asking for their input as to how we build this product and how we build a product that really makes a difference and helps these kind of pain points that companies have mainly when hiring people. So the key learning in those meetings was how you ask the questions massively matters. And it's really difficult when you're sat in a customer development meeting not just jumping in and pitching your product and pitching your idea. It's really important to kind of listen to their problems rather than providing them with solutions, because it's so easy to kind of do that, get approval from someone and go, yeah, we're validated, let's build it. So I kind of started going down the line of, okay, we're going to build this or this. Which out of those two things would be most valuable to you? Or, if we build this, which you said you want, what out of all the features we've got could you live without? We're going to take something away. And you kind of quickly get an idea. So actually, when push comes to shove, what are the things that people are wanting to use on the site, and what are the things that are keeping people engaged? So yeah, kind of don't be afraid to pivot with that information. Our ideas changed a lot, and it still does today based on feedback. One of the things that came out of our customer development was kind of top employers want to get to know the real personalities of individuals, not just their professional experience or CV. So we amalgamate social media profiles, so not just LinkedIn, but also Instagram, Twitter. And on the flip side, our employer profiles tell kind of users exactly what a company is like to work for as well. So mistakes. So this is a really important part of the last 18 months for me. I made them, so hopefully you don't have to. The first mistake is worrying about problems you don't have yet. So this is a big thing for me in terms of before we launched, okay, how are users going to use the site? What if they use it this way? And I probably delayed the process and caused Lawrence and the gang a huge amount of headache by worrying about issues that actually, when after we launched, they haven't been issues at all. No one's used the site in a negative way, and no one's done X, Y, Z that we were so concerned about. So don't delay your launch because you're worried about how users will use the product. Let users use the product and adapt from there. I think the second mistake is doing things because other people are doing them. So I'll talk about, there's a site in the States called The Muse, really big site, and I'd noticed that they were doing kind of filming videos and hosting videos on their pages. So I set up a kind of production kind of company and went in to some of our clients and started filming videos. And not necessarily, it's a great idea, great concept, but there's a huge amount of time investment in that. And I found my kind of days and evenings just editing rushes of video content. And that's not why I started the business. That's not really why we started it. So sometimes it's, don't just try and think, those guys are doing that. It looks really attractive, really exciting. Stick to your own ideas and own vision. And actually it ties into the next thing, which is, in my experience, don't look for ideas from your own industry. So we take ideas on TalentRocket from different industries, whether that's kind of the sign-up process or whether that's kind of other things. Look for innovative companies that are doing things differently and then adapt it and bring it into your market. Big mistake for me is around, and for most startups I speak to, is premature optimization. So kind of naturally most entrepreneurs are quite perfectionists, so don't try and kind of optimize your site before you've launched and optimize everything about it. So I kind of, again, was a massive barrier to our launch, and probably still am today, in terms of wanting things to be a certain way. It's important for you to have that vision, but don't launch when everything's perfect. Just launch when it's good enough and get out there and start validate your learning. Metrics is another one. So not that managing metrics or measuring metrics is a mistake. It's more, we built kind of an analytics dashboard after slow launch. And although it's great to have data-driven decisions, when you start out, kind of you don't get enough users using the product for that data to be actually valid to a certain extent. So it's much better to actually go out and speak to customers and understand how they're using it. So I email personally pretty much everyone that joins the site and says, how do you find us? What can I do to help? That's much more valuable than our analytics dashboard, which is great. And when we hopefully scale, that'll be really, really valuable to see what's pushing the needles in the right direction in terms of engagement. But I would probably hold fire building in loads of analytics, measure some key metrics such as maybe kind of percentage sign-up rate, if you've got a paid model from free to paid, measure your churn, your lifetime value, but don't go into loads of granular detail about measuring everything and worrying about those metrics, because you'll waste a lot of time and energy. So yeah, I think the key learning around all of those mistakes is just focus on solving the problems that you have today. Future problems will arise, but don't try and solve them before they arise, and don't try and predict what's going to happen. I think I noticed as well that most of the decisions or the negative mistakes that I made came out of fear, and fear is how people would perceive the product and how people would use the product. So yeah, kind of when I talked a bit about the video thing, you're going to find roadblocks in your journey, in your startup journey, and kind of sometimes going forward isn't an option. So you need to be prepared to walk away from certain things and walk away from certain paths. So the video idea, we walked away from that concept. And actually sometimes that's the best thing to do, because we're developing some other concepts at the moment around using Instagram, things like that, which I think will be much more valuable for us. So yeah, kind of some things won't scale, some things you'll run out of time or you run out of money on, and you need to realize that actually sometimes that's a blessing in disguise. So reaching product market fit. So the key takeaway here is that quality matters, and I believe that design matters. So kind of going on from what Lawrence said, there's no point in building all those contacts on your mailing list before you start, getting them all excited and releasing something that looks like a pile of crap. So there are a few cases where that's probably okay. So like if it's a highly functional back office solution, or maybe it's kind of a bit of enterprise software that actually kind of solves a real pain point and just the functionality of it alone is really unique in the market, then that's kind of fine. But for us, we needed to bake user experience into the site, and we needed our product to appeal to users in order to gain traction. So have a think about that. Have a think about what your audience expects as well. I can't remember who said this. It was a quote, which is the biggest risk with startup isn't necessarily the lack of time or money, it's building almost the right thing. So seeing a successful competitor do what you do, but with one extra detail that makes all the difference, like that's the thing that will kill you. So just make sure that you're kind of asking for feedback constantly, seeing what is actually being used on the site. That's really, really important. And I think reaching product market fit is all about, will people miss your product if it were gone? And if 40% of your users say extremely or very much, hopefully you've probably reached it. So before product market fit, before you achieve that, focus on retention of your users, and you should ask for forgiveness as well. Your product is going to suck for a while, but ask people to stick with you, and people seem to like that kind of dirt honesty. So yeah, it's all about trust. Even if your site is free to use, and we're free in beta at the moment, there's an element that it's not free. They're paying with their data, or they're paying with their attention. There is a transaction happening. So you can't really betray that. Nothing's really free. There's always an exchange, and it's up to you as founders to go out there and build that trust that someone converts. So yeah, just kind of a few final points for me, which is kind of MVP, minimal viable product. Most people underestimate viable and overestimate minimal. It has to be good enough for people to stick around. So it's much harder to win back a customer who's had a bad experience. So make sure that when it is launched that kind of you're close to your customers on that, but build it in a lean way. Listen, build, measure, learn. But don't be barely good enough. Prematurely declaring that the product is done means that your incremental improvement doesn't seem important to anyone. So don't forget that marketing as well plays by different rules to engineering. So many products depend on community. They depend on adoption, on buzz in order to be viable. So they won't become a viable product unless their peers adopt it. So you've got to think about that as well. There's no point in having a great product unless you can actually get it out there. And make sure your product or your service or your startup really stands out. That was a bit of advice I had right from the start from a VC. And he kind of said, you just got to make sure that people talk about it is remarkable, it's that purple cow, and that it really stands out. And if you're principled about it and if you're purpose-led, I genuinely believe you've got a better chance of getting there. Know who your customers are and know who they are not as well. So we've turned down quite a lot of companies that have wanted to be on our site because they're not in line with our vision. And that's really difficult because there's potential that you could raise money from those customers, or that you can kind of scale quicker with them on board. But it's really important that you have that clear vision in mind. So yeah, stay committed to your vision but flexible in your approach. And that's it from me.